Yeah. Live a humble.
when we find it.
Yeah. You know, to have a good sense of yourself, to have a good sense of who you are, what you have to offer, the bigness of life and God, that is enough to humble you. You know, if you just look at nature. But sometimes we forget. But hey, the bell's done wrong. Live humble, humble, humble yourself. The bell's done wrong. Live humble, humble, humble yourself. The bell's done wrong. Glory and honor, glory and honor, praise the Lamb. Oh, my Lord's done just what he said. My Lord, he healed the sick and he raised the dead. Live humble, humble, humble yourself. The bell's done wrong. Did you ever see such a man as God? He gave up his son for to come and die. He gave up his son for to come and die, just to save my soul from the burning fire. Live humble, humble, humble yourself. The bell's done wrong. Glory and honor, praise King Jesus. Glory and honor, praise the Lamb. Glory and honor, praise King Jesus. Glory and honor, praise the Lamb. Live humble, humble, humble yourself. The bell's done wrong. Live humble, humble, humble yourself. The bells are done wrong. I didn't tell you I was going to repeat that glory and honor.
It's all good.
Yeah,
it's all good.
it's not in the piece, but I'm used to
can feel
hearing
you
that
pulling
glory
it.
and honor
You gotta hear it
twice.
once.
Yeah.
Sing it 3 times.
Yeah, glory.
Today.